Okay, great. So do you all want to start with something? If not, I have questions to start us off with.
We can follow your lead.
Okay, great. So tell us a little bit more about each of you, like what your role entails. Like what is a summary or like quick overview of like what it is that you do at Dairy Farmers of America in your role? And we can start with whoever.
I'll launch it off. So just as a quick overview, we're actually a milk marketing cooperative at DFA. So that means we're member farmer owned. So we're a large company. We have about 20,000 employees, and we have our corporate headquarters is actually on the Kansas side in KCK. And then we take the milk from the farms and sell it to other companies. But we also have about 85 different manufacturing facilities across the US that are fully staffed, that are turning that fluid milk into other different dairy products that we all know and love under our own brands, and also under some co-packing agreements of other companies that you might know and love as well. So we all do different facets of that business to keep it supported, and we hire for all facets of the area of the business as well, everything from finance to the plant-based roles. Most of us are on the talent acquisition team on the call, not all of us, but we all work together and partner together throughout the HR departments. My day-to-day, I'm the manager of talent sourcing. So talent sourcing is a subset of talent acquisition overall, or recruiting. We look to find people who aren't necessarily applying to DFA on their own. We would call them passive candidates, not necessarily because they're a passive person, but they are passively considering DFA, either in passing or may have heard of it or would consider if we talk to them, but they're not actively engaged with us. My team tries to get folks excited and inspired and connected to the brand. So we're trying to make sure that we're telling a good brand story through social media and the way that we present ourselves out into the world, into the market. And then we're hoping that we're building pipelines of really exciting candidates that we can share with hiring teams, so that we're always have people that are available to hire, but that our hiring capabilities look like the communities that we're serving, so that we're hiring the best of the best from all around the region. So day to day, I'm working with different stakeholders and partners like Antoinette and Tashana to connect with those different people and talent, to try to get them connected to DFA. So we love doing experiences like this where we can talk more and more about why we love to do what we do. So thank you.
Shoshana, do you want to go next?
You can go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, no worries. So I had spent a decade in higher education. So I worked for UMKC, KU, and KU Medical Center, and I did recruitment for into various undergraduate and graduate programs, student life activities, and then working with diversity, equity, inclusion. So it's funny because Brittany was like, yeah, passive candidates. That was me. I was not looking to get out of higher education. I knew nothing about Dairy Farmers of America. And so when I was reached out to via LinkedIn, so if you have a LinkedIn profile, make sure it's up to date. Or if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, get one and make sure that it's up to date. And so that's how I was reached out to just share. They shared about what DFA was. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll explore what this means. And so that's how I landed here. And so specifically in my role, there's 3 different components that I do. One is community engagement. So how can I involve HQ employees in getting involved within the community in which we live in, and also in which we work in. So tomorrow, I'm bringing about 9 employees to participate in the Juneteenth KC event. It's where we're going to be distributing milk to the people in the community. So if you are interested, I will send you information about what that is, but you'll get different products. There's milk, there's food. I think they gave away like meat and vegetables and things of that sort. So that's what I do, is get our employees out and active in the Kansas City community. The second thing is to build an inclusive workplace where people feel a sense of belonging. So that's really through like employee resource groups. I know you are interning now. Have any of you heard about an employee resource group or a business resource group, affinity group? Anything sound familiar like that? No, no. I see a couple, no, they're like, So basically what that is it is a group that comes around a shared interest or an identity or a demographic. And so we have 4 different groups. And so I help really move those forward with making sure that we're bringing in professional development opportunities, that we're creating a platform where people can come and just feel a sense of community. So like if you are an underrepresented or marginalized employee, you have a space where you don't feel like you're the only one. And so that's how I work and manage that program. And then the final component is to go out into different recruitment fairs and participate in career workshops where I'm able to attract diverse talent to DFA and similar people like me that knew nothing and being able to show them that this is a great place to be. So working with Tashana and Brittany's team in order to do that, we work collaboratively. That's
Okay.
it.
Antoinette, thank you, thank you. So, as Brittany and Antoinette mentioned, a lot of great things about what they do and our company as well. I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised there, and now I live in Texas. So, I went to just some colleges that some people may be familiar with. I started out going to Penn Valley Community College. From there, I graduated. Then I went to UMKC for a little bit. I know I heard someone say that they are attended or went to UMKC, and then I ended up getting my bachelor's degree from Park College University, and then extended my education to get a dual master's degree in business and human resource development. And I say all those things mainly because, one, with me and my family and generation, I was the first one to go to college and complete my education. I just think it's so important, and just very proud of you all for setting the bar. And if you are the first one in your family to go to college, or maybe you are the second generation, it's just so important for you to do those things. And also to make sure that you, one thing that I did not do was I did not have a network of people to help me and guide me. I was the first one in my family to decide to go to college. So at that time, things were a little bit different. But now you guys have so many resources out there. So just want to make sure that you continue to make sure that you are networking with people. Don't be afraid to network. It's so important. And also, too, as Antoinette was saying earlier about like LinkedIn and getting involved in those different social media platforms are so important. Make sure that you're involved in the community. Make sure also too that if you can volunteer to in your field, so you can kind of get an idea if there's something, if that's what you really want to do. You don't want to be, several years down the road, get that degree and start that job, and then you find that that's not really what you do. So it's just so important to, if you can, do those internships like we do have. We would love to, I'm so glad that our company does have the internship programs, and we have them across the different career fields. So glad that you guys are, taking advantage of that as well. So make sure you get that hands-on experience, do those internships, volunteer. If you can get a part-time job too, do that as well. I know it's, you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot, but it's so important for you to do that. Surround yourself with positive people that support you, and just keep marching forward. And do as much as you possibly can, but enjoying things as well. With DFA, my background is in social psychology. And so I always wanted to be a marriage and family counselor and just helping people no matter what I did. I'm sure some of you know, like with Shawnee Mission Medical Center Hospital, I worked at Shawnee Mission Medical Center there for a couple of years. I was a behavioral counselor. So I helped people that, whether they were adults or youth, with some of them had alcohol addiction recovery. They had alcohol problems or suicidal problems and things of that nature. So I would do counseling with them. Also worked on the mental health unit as well. But I ended up changing my major after I got my social psych degree, and I wanted to still I have a passion to help people. So no matter what I did in life, I always wanted to help people. It's so very important to see people grow and strive and be their very best. So I wanted to do HR, and then with me with this company here at DFA, it just allowed me to have a lot of opportunities to continue what I love to do, which is help people. And so what I do is I'm the senior talent acquisition specialist, and my daily focus is finding people out in the USA that are interested in our positions, whether if it's IT or HR or if it's finance and accounting. I fill a lot of positions across different regions, and I love doing what I do. So we're so excited to have you guys and looking forward to helping you in any way that I possibly can. And look for me out there on LinkedIn.
Cool. So that's a kind of good segue. So taking it back to college and what your major was, how do you feel like the major that you chose in college either correlates or doesn't correlate with like your position right now? And like what kind of advice would you give around like how that might change over time? Whoever wants to go.
I can keep the pattern of leading the crew. That's
There
fine.
you
That's
go.
fine, lady. Interestingly enough, I was first generation as well, so I didn't have anyone to look towards or to coach me through my experience. And I changed my major a few times. I'm sure most of you have by now. If not, you know some folks that have. But I ended up graduating with a double major. My degree is a Bachelor of Arts in History and French, and I went to William Jewell College over here in Liberty, Missouri. I had intended to go to law school and either be a lawyer or eventually go to the military and pursue law that way. Was really into this whole FBI agent thing. I think TV got to me for a while. But then I realized that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do, and I was not prepared to finance school again, let alone law school. So I was like, I really rather would just enter the workforce, except I graduated in 2011. So it wasn't too long after the market had crashed. So the market wasn't fully recovered. It wasn't really awesome to find good work. So I knew I didn't want to go to law school, but I didn't know what to do or how to get someone to hire me with a degree in history and French. So I actually landed my first job at the Boys and Girls Club. I worked there for a few months as a counselor for the teenagers. And then while I was in college and during that time with Boys and Girls Club, I was doing some camps with the Kauffman Scholars Program. And they saw that the way that I communicated with the kids, and I had done babysitting and nannying forever, but I also did every camp I could do imaginable to pay for college. So I had opportunities to work with curriculum development there, working with program counselors, working with program managers at the program that we were supporting. And they saw something in me and said, maybe you could help teach our kids. And they took a chance on me. And that's how I met Maya and other folks. And I actually was a life coach. With them up until about 2015, my phase of the program came to a close. So I had to figure out if I wanted to stay in teaching, which was my new career field, or if I wanted to change. And similar to Tashana, I knew I wanted to keep helping people, but I knew that I wanted to do it for a program like Kauffman, which was very unique and not necessarily in a classroom full time. So for me, I wanted to figure out how can I continue to communicate with people? How can I keep continuing to help folks and connect them to opportunities? And human resources just kind of seemed like something to explore at the time. I started networking with other folks like Tashana recommended. I started to figure out what do human resources people actually do. I knew they hired you, but what else do they do? And kind of taking an exploration into there. So I did a complete transformation of my career and switched over into, it was an HR education role. So they were looking for someone that had a human resources background, which I didn't quite necessarily have, but someone that was well-versed in how to educate adults, which I had quite a bit of experience in. So I was able to get my feet wet, and then I went into more HR management roles and have stayed in HR happy ever since. So the aspects of my degree that I think have always helped, I think having a degree is usually the biggest thing. Tashana can tell you when she's recruiting for folks, that's usually a disqualifier or what the hiring team is looking for in a lot of corporate focused roles or roles that might have specific levels of training or that might be very niche. Also just learning how to speak extemporaneously, just on the spin of a dime, being able to do events like this, being able to write cohesively, but also being able to defend my thoughts, And then with the French degree, being able to talk to people from different cultures and being able to be appreciative of different cultures and being willing to always be a student and learning, I think is something that I've been able to carry forth in my day-to-day work in my career too. So that's my story.
So my story is very similar to Brittany. So I'm also a first generation college student, graduate, not student. Well, I technically am still a student. And I got a degree in business administration. And I went through business because I thought I was going to go to law school and be this hotshot agent. And so that's the pathway that I had chosen. So I pursued business, and business was just applicable to everything and anything that I do. So I chose business administration. So I did finance, I did accounting, I did marketing. And so it allowed me to get a wide range of transferable skills that I use in my everyday job. Like I have to make reports, I have to be able to email different constituents and people. And so that's what that allowed me to be able to do. And then I also have a master's in higher education administration because I thought I was going to be a vice chancellor on somebody's campus. And so I knew that would help me get there because that was the pathway that was kind of laid out. And so I know a lot of history about college and universities. I don't necessarily use that. It's not as applicable, but it did allow me to really work with other people and be able to present thoughts and ideas and come together and collaborate and then share those ideas. And so I don't know if you all love group projects and love presenting together. Is that you all's favorite? Everybody's like, oh yeah, well, you're not like me. I used to hate them like so much that I'm like, nope, I don't ever want to do it. But that's what I find myself doing the most. And so what I would recommend is really hone in on those skills of, if you have someone that's not pulling their weight, or you have a team member that isn't communicating, being able to reach out to them is something that I use on an everyday basis with collaborating. So find those types of transferable skills that people are going to highlight and see how you can push them forward.
Information. Thank you. Thank you. I think I've probably talked a lot already. But I would just say, with my degrees, I chose the degrees that I chose because I wanted to always have other opportunities as well. No matter whatever I decided to do in life, I knew that me having a degree in business, I can go into so many different aspects, career areas there. And with HR, that with us being in HR, we are servant leaders. And so I always, again, with that degree in HR, I knew that no matter what, I'm still going to, I can use that across the board, what I learned from in school, as well as, working for different companies. And I just always wanted to make sure that what my passion was, I'm still, no matter what, I'm able to do that, and no matter what company that I'm in. And that is, again, I have that passion to always help people and see them to be their very best. And so that's what I love to do. And I knew that the degrees that I chose, as well as the different companies, that I will be able to do that. I was going to find a way that I will be able to help people no matter what. So.
Deshauna, I really love that point, because I think that that's something that I was really terrified to do, was to pivot. Like I had a whole breakdown in March when I was like, I don't want to go to law school. And y'all don't know me, but I am like a Kimberly Kardashian ugly crier. And so I cried in my advisor's office for 2 months, I wouldn't say straight, but probably every week, because I was afraid to pivot. And so as you're in this area and you're discovering what are things that you love, what are things that you enjoy doing, and talents that you would like to further develop, be okay with pivoting and doing something completely different from what you had originally planned. I love how you emphasize that, Tashana, is that you have a base with your degree, but there are multiple pathways and avenues that you can go and explore, because really we don't know the jobs that are going to be out there in 10 to 15 years from now. And so preparing yourself for what that will look like in the future will save you some ugly crying tears.
Yes, agree with you totally, Antoinette. And that was part of the reason why I did that, ladies and gentlemen, is because I just didn't want to be stuck. And then also too, as Antoinette said, things are totally different now. And from when our grandparents and great grandparents, going to school and their jobs, they're no longer, companies are no longer keeping us for years and years, and you're able to retire. So you always want to just make sure that you're setting yourself up for success as much as possible. Don't think that, okay, I'm just going to stay at this job for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years and I'm going to retire. It's not like that anymore. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to get an additional degree. It was just a few more classes, everybody. So if you can push yourself, it just all depends on what you're doing too. It does not apply to everybody, but I just wanted to always be as versatile as I possibly wanted to be. When I'm going into companies and they, ask, why do you have more than one degree and what made you do that? Again, I always just say I wanted to be able to be the very best that I can be and market myself and not be limited in things. So just a little extra there.
All right, interns, what questions do we have? I told y'all to prepare some. Or be ready with some.
Go easy on us.
What do we want to know? Okay. Other questions I have. So these are all college students. Some of them are going into their sophomore year, some are going into their senior year. What advice would you give for them? I know, Tashana, you already kind of like touched on like doing internships and volunteering and those sorts of things. Like, what other sort of experiences would you advise them to obtain while they're in their college experience that would make them good candidates for jobs later on? Whoever looks at resumes and stuff the most.
Tashana will screen people more than us. So I'll look at people to try to attract, but she knows what the hiring teams are choosing. But I think anything that you can do to show your story of who you are and how you want to show up in the world and what you want to do is always going to be what I would recommend. And then taking advantage of what's available to you when you can. So if you can study abroad, that might not necessarily land you a job somewhere unless you're going to a global company that needs you to have experience in a specific language or country. But those experiences that you get into that time away might carry over and be translatable and just be a really positive, awesome memory for you. So just also just trying to veer away from having the perfect ladder to success. Like Antoinette and Tashana said, you're going to pivot. I also think you should try to enjoy life a little bit more at your age too. So looking at what brings you work-life balance as you all continue to add to your plate and to continue to try to break away from your peers and be more of an individual, exploring things like therapy and being involved in your community and just really focusing on balancing yourself as a whole person. Because really when I look to hire people that want to show up and work hard, so you can kind of fill into any role with that. That's me. That's how I show up in the world. That's my brand. And I love hiring people that are willing to show up and showcase their brand. So just bringing your whole personal self to work, but protecting that light and making sure you're doing what you need to do in your practices to do so.
Really good information. Thank you on that. Guys, as I'm looking at those resumes, when I'm looking for the top talent, I'm looking for, a broad range of things depending on that position. However, I can tell you this, if you already do have your resume out there or you're working on your resume, make sure that you are attending different resume workshops and things of that nature. There's a lot of information out there that can help you with building your template. Also, too, you want to always get more than one person's view on your resume, because again, every spelling checks, grammar, and things of that nature. Also, some things that you do not want to put on there. I see things like certain email addresses that You just want to avoid putting out there like saying Big Daddy, or just again, just you'd be surprised. And these are some adults that I'm reviewing their resumes, and they have these emails that are just a big no. Just want to avoid putting certain things out there. Try to avoid, those activities or hobby. It's fine that you put professional like activities on there, or community events and activities that you're doing there, volunteering and things of that nature. We all have to start somewhere as far as working, or we don't necessarily, everyone did not just necessarily does not get out of college and have experience. So if you're volunteering at different community projects, your school and things of that nature, whether it's church or whatever it may be, or you got a part-time job, please add that information on there. And again, we're looking for people that exude, they have that experience as far as leadership. You want to put those skills on there, communication skills, just different things that are so important when we're looking at those resumes. Your education, you don't have to put on there necessarily your GPA. Everybody doesn't have a 4.0 GPA, so you don't have to put that information on there, but just make sure that you do have on there that some of your college classes, that would be also good as well. Management skills, if you're doing Toastmasters, just any type of professional development that you're utilizing, put that information on there as well. When you're doing your resume, you want to make sure that things are in chronological order as well. And so again, I can talk to you about that a lot, but again, there is information out there for you to build your resume. And again, any networking events, also any platforms that you're involved in, just put that in, make sure that information is on there. It all gives us kind of like a picture of who you are, your leader, if you're doing your college, you're the college treasurer or whatever it may be. So put those very important things on your resume. And again, make sure you get help on your resume. So I'm open to helping too. I love doing that part. So, but that's one of, I'm looking at a lot of different things on your resume though, but make sure you have someone else to view it before you put it out there.
I have a question for all of you.
Yeah.
What is the worst career decision you've ever made, and how did you improve?
You said
Worst career decision?
Yes.
You go ahead, Brittany.
I've got one. So when I first transitioned into HR, I didn't quite know HR. I was learning as I was going. And I got a really cool offer to work for a company. It was really awesome, but I was taking on two job titles. One was permanently and one was kind of temporarily, but there was no indicator of how temporary. There was no real plan to fill it. So I was essentially doing two roles and had negotiated my salary, as you always should. That's another conversation to have. And then at one point, it was just me and the owner and operator, and he decided that he didn't need me to do that second job anymore and was going to reduce my salary. But I didn't have an offer letter in writing. I didn't have anything signed, and I was at the mercy of him and his business. So lesson learned, I've never, ever accepted a verbal offer moving forward, and always make sure that I have in writing, and not necessarily in any angry way or anything else, but to protect myself, to make sure I know what I'm negotiating towards, to make sure I'm holding myself to the standards that I agreed to, and to make sure that those are agreed upon by the employer that I'm exchanging my time for. That was just a lesson learned, and it also changed how I interact as a recruiter. I don't necessarily recruit day to day as much anymore, but I make sure that I'm open and honest and forthcoming and guiding people through those steps that best protect them and give them the best candidate experience. That's something that I learned the hard way, but something that has carried through and been a powerful lesson for me.
So there's two things that come to mind. The first one was I stayed at a place too long, hoping that they would change. And so I had been there at this time, maybe like 4 or 5 years, and I was ready for like the next step because my day-to-day was very mundane. And if you've ever taken a Strengths Quest Finder, one of my strengths is that I'm a learner. So I need to always be engaging in exciting, different work. Not like fast, like, oh, it's been a week and I need something else, like not like that, but just over time, I need to feel like I'm being developed and that I'm being challenged. And so I had several conversations about what could happen or what could be, and I didn't set like a time frame. So I didn't say, okay, in the next 3 months or the next 6 months, I want to be here. I end up staying, I think, like 2.5 more years of just kind of that mundane, unchallenging work. And what happened is I became disengaged. And then because I was disengaged, my productivity like just kind of crashed. And so I regret not staying, not leaving soon enough. And then the other side of that is the second example of not staying long enough to complete what I know my purpose was at that place. I had some run-ins with my manager, and instead of being brave and having a difficult conversation, I just went and looked for another job and I left. And so I still regret that today because I know that my impact could have what my impact could have been had I had a difficult conversation and made my request of what I'm looking for. And then if my requests weren't made, then I could pivot from there. But that is the thing that I know that there was still work, there was still impact that I could have done should I had a difficult conversation.
Good. Thank you so much, Brittany and Antoinette. Both good examples. I would say my one example that I had was working for a company where I had a leader or my manager, my first line supervisor was, I would say, overbearing and like an aggressive leader as far as their communication style. So one thing I had to learn was about myself. Even though I say I'm an introvert, a lot of people say I'm an extrovert, but you have to know yourself and set those boundaries when you're at work and you're working with different people. You got different personalities, the environment and things of that nature. So I had to learn to set those boundaries with my managers immediately, keeping things professional. I'm here to work and that's what I'm here to do. This is my job, and not engaging. It's okay to do things with your peers or managers and supervisors at your job. You know, you're going out to events and things of that nature, team building and things of that nature. But I had to learn to set those boundaries with this particular manager and let them know that, you know, I'm here to do my job. I'm a professional. All the other things that are going on, the politics and things of that nature and the gossip and all that, I didn't care to be involved with. But I ended up leaving the job because of the manager was very overbearing and kind of like a person that would like get in your face and things of that nature. So when it gets to that point, when it got to that point, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go. And it was no longer a healthy environment. As Antoinette said earlier, you find yourself not being productive. You don't want to be there anymore. And so I made the decision. It was a hard decision. It was actually my first position in HR, and I was with the company for 8 years. And so I had to make the decision of that it was so important about my health and my happiness, my mental health and emotionally. You cannot come to work if you're feeling like you're in a threatened environment and the environment is not good. So I had to make the decision to leave. And so I have no regrets on my decision. It was the best thing for me. And what I ended up doing was basically just like stepping out on faith. And I wanted to, with my degree in business, I wanted to try and start a business from the ground up. And so that's what I ended up doing. And so from there, I ended up opening up a couple of businesses and really enjoyed doing that. So again, it was a hard transition, but it was like pushing me in the right direction that I needed to go.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Anybody else have stuff? We love it.
Other intern questions?
I have a question. Well, I experienced a lot of burnout throughout the years, especially like while working, and I also experienced like during online learning. And I just want to see how you guys dealt with that, because it's a very big problem, especially when I went to college. I didn't know how to get out of the burnout. So if you guys could give me like some advice or some input on that.
Yes, I love that you asked that question, and I'm very interested to see what everybody else says. I wish that was a conversation that we had sooner. I think I probably experienced burnout around my college years, but didn't know that that was a real thing. I didn't know it was something I was allowed to feel, and I didn't necessarily know how to get out of it on my own. So I probably lived in that space for a lot longer than I would like to admit or feel good about. Here, I would say probably along with everyone else with the pandemic and really having a chance to reevaluate how I like to spend my time on the planet and how I'd like to show up when I show up to things. For me, that changed. I realized that I had to come first, that my health had to come first in order for me to really love people the way that I wanted to. In order to give my best, I had to pour into my own cup. So for me, I have to be very intentional even throughout my day-to-day. And I negotiate with myself a little bit too much on some of these, but some of them are non-negotiable. So I have a few practices that have just helped me with the day-to-day. I try to take a walk at least once a day. In general, I try to take it before my day starts, whatever that means. So I usually say before my meetings start, take a quick walk around the block. Usually it's 20 minutes. If I can find 20 minutes for meetings or other things, I should find 20 minutes for myself. So I try to prioritize myself in the beginning of the day, and I have a beginning of the day routine that serves me very well. I love practicing yoga, so I try to start that. Drinking water, and honestly just having some time before logging in and being in the throes of the world. I try to always check in with folks, and I hope the ladies see that, that I work with, try to be mindful of how people are doing, send well wishes and emails and messages, take breaks, and realize that I might be having a busy day and so might other people, and how they reacted in a meeting might not have nothing to do with me, but also kind of having that sense of connection to know when to check on people too, I think has helped. Being able to be mindful of my sense of community, not even just when I'm out doing community service, but how I'm serving the community at all times. That has helped me with burnout. I do better when I'm pouring into other people. If I feel like I'm not helping, that's my kryptonite. That's when I start to shut down. That's when I'm not pouring back into my cup. But when I'm challenged to help others or to create new ways to try to help other people, that keeps me going. But that takes time. So I try to not log into work when I'm done with work. And I'm one of those people, and some folks might hate it, some folks might love it, but I don't respond when I'm on PTO or if I'm out of the office for the day. Now I will know if there's something that a candidate's waiting on me for and I have to finish it, I will log in, or if I know there's a tight deadline or whatever else. But as a general rule of thumb, when I'm done working, because in my head it'll be there tomorrow. And I have to take care of this version of Brittany for that version of Brittany to be able to handle that with the grace and ease that I would want her to be able to do that with. So I've had some parameters and stuff that I've set in my world that I've had to be consistent with so that people can respect those practices. In general, when I'm out of the office, people know, well, Brittany's not going to get back to me until next week. I should probably go to her peer, or if it's really important, text her. So just having that sense of trust with myself and my peers to know when I need to ask for additional help or when I need to be able to offer up other help. As an HR professional and just as a person, I love employee assistance programs that most companies have. One portion of that is that they usually pay for a certain amount of mental health courses or direct one-on-one counseling with a counselor in the area. And I highly recommend that to anyone. Most companies offer some portion of it with differing amounts of sessions, but that's how I found my connection to therapy. As a personal practice and as just overall wellness with stress management at work. Those are some practices that I try to always boast. And then just surrounding myself with people that uplift me and my visions and pour back into me ways that I do, and finding mindful time to spend with them outside of the day-to-day work has helped me a lot with the burnout. It's still something that you have to be mindful of. And I think a lot of us have room for improvement with that practice, but just remembering that it's a practice and to give yourself as much grace as possible.
Yes, I remember being in college, and one of the things why, like Brittany said, the word burnout wasn't even a thing. I just knew I was crashing, and I was crashing hard, and I was not motivated to do anything. And the reason that it was like that, because I was involved with like 5 student organizations. I was working a part-time job. I was going and attending my sister's high school and middle school events, and, you know, showing up to family functions. Like, I was doing all of the things. And so now that, like, I have like my own family and still, you know, my sisters and my mom and them, I have been comfortable with saying no, period. Like, I'm an over explainer, like, no, because I have to do this and I'm so sorry because of that. And I didn't mean to do, like, no. Do you want to do this? No. And like, even saying that, it still makes me uncomfortable. And so that is something that I needed to be very intentional with doing, because I would create this whole scenario, create this whole story about, if I don't explain, then this is what they're thinking about me. And now just I'm a terrible person and they like won't like me and all the things, when like that isn't even the case. And so that was the first thing that I have been like, no, to things that I do not want to do. To things that I do not have the capacity for. I've been comfortable being in that space. Another thing that I do, it's called, my kiddo's the ones that actually brought it up, but it's Chun Baboon, and it's this video on YouTube, and they use it, our kid, 5-year-old used it before music class to get like all their jitters out. But there is essentially box breathing integrated into there. It's where you hold your breath for 4, and then you exhale for 4, hold your breath for 4, and you exhale for 4. So because of them, like, now we do that like every day together. And so every day, just having those deep moments of deep breath after the day is done, that's what I've been accustomed to. And then the same thing about setting those boundaries. Like, Brittany, I am not, unless it's something hot, pressing, you need me, our executives are emailing me that they need this report by like 11:59 at night, it will be there tomorrow. And so when I start my day, I do 5 things that I want to accomplish personally, 5 things that I want to accomplish professionally. And when I say 5 things, it could be check email. It could be return this item. It could be read 10 minutes. Whatever it is that my heart desires to go on that list, that is what I want to accomplish for the day. And so that is what really keeps me grounded. And then last but not least, I have having my daughter, she's now 2 years ago, really transformed how I view the world. I had a son, he's wonderful, I love him to pieces, but having that daughter really transformed how I view work and how I view my interaction, how I want to show up in the world. And so if you're able to ground yourself and then look out and be like, okay, I know there's people looking up to me, and this is how this is the advice that I would give them. Treat yourself the exact same way. So I would never want Brooklyn, so shout out to the Brooklyn was here, Brooklyn, to ever be so stressed out because of work that her hair is falling out, or so stressed out that she's lashing out at people because she hasn't given the time for herself. And so in order to be able to show up for my daughter, I need to be able to show up for myself. And so that's my why.
Good information, good information. And everyone take the information that Ms. Brittany and Ms. Antoinette are saying to you all, and internalize that and take those points and write those things down. I think I'm probably the oldest out of everybody, and I can tell you, starting young and just wanting to be involved in everything, and always stressing about time, being an overachiever and want to be perfect and things of that nature, you get burnt out. I will say it is called work-life balance. And again, you have, prioritizing the things that you need to get up and take those breaks away as much as possible. Read positive affirmations, step away, meditate, do some exercise. Again, surround yourself around people that are doing positive things as well. But you do not want to, when you get burnt out, it's so hard to get back up and going. And so I had learned that when I knew when I was burnt out, when I would end up getting sick. So sick could mean me getting a cold, and that's going to shut me down for a few days. And so I had to learn, okay, you're exhausting yourself to capacity, and you need to step back a little bit. And so You don't want to find yourself in those types of situations because, when you are not at your best, it's impacting you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, all of the above. And so, again, just work on those work-life balance, time management, and put a plan in place that works for you. And guess what, everybody? You're not in competition with anyone but yourself. Yourself. You're not on anyone's timeline but yours. So remember, and again, it's so much that I know we are sharing with you all. And but again, it's take this information really and truly. And again, in life, you're gonna have those times, right? We're gonna have those times where things are just very stressful for us, and you're gonna have those good times and all of that. But again, work-life balance, and remember, out here in corporate America, wherever you land your career, you are in competition with yourself, and so I had to learn that very young into it, and so hopefully all these things that we're sharing with you guys, I know it's a lot, but you'll pull some of this information, and it may not be, it'll be at different times in your journey, but again, find that support system, and communicate. You have to communicate. Don't be afraid. You have to get out here and communicate with people. It's so important. And I know with the pandemic things are differently, but communicate. You're not out here alone. I want to also tell you that too. You're not alone. You're never alone, and it's not the end. so just hopefully what we've been sharing with you guys, you'll be able to take some of that information. I'm even learning from my peers, so learning different things from them too. So I didn't know we got yoga and all of that, so I'm gonna have to Brittany and do some yoga.
No, that's all right. Thank you. That was really well said. And thank you to whoever asked that question. That was powerful.
Thank you for answering.
Of course.
Other questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
At what point in your career did you decide that this is like the best field for you and like you were meant to be where you currently are?
Wow. I don't know if I've ever been asked a question in that way. I'm gonna have to think about that one for a second. This might be cheating, but I don't know if I've ever really defined my career field in that way. I love being able to pivot, and that's why I love HR so much. I can stay in HR and do so many different things. So before I was at DFA, my title was usually human resources specialist or human resources generalist. So it's kind of like meaning like I was a family doctor in the HR world. I could kind of see you for just about anything and then probably refer you out to other people, but a generalist by practice. So right now I get to do specialty stuff. So talent acquisition is being in the specialty. So that's like when you get referred out to someone else. And I love being in this specialty. I love seeing people win. I interviewed someone the other day that said recruiting was matchmaking. I loved that. Never thought about it that way, but I love helping people find the right thing at the right time. I love talking through the hard conversations. I love seeing the energy shift on someone when they leave a toxic work environment or a job that they've been at too long, like Antoinette said, or whatever else, and get that reset that they need to show up and be the best version of them. And like Tashana said earlier, I choose HR because I can do it anywhere. I can do it in nonprofit like I have before. I can do it in for-profit companies, small companies, big companies, domestic companies, global companies. I can do it wherever, and I can always come back to my calling, which is helping people, teaching people, and coaching people, and hopefully inspiring some folks. So I don't know if I've settled in on I'll be a recruiter forever, but I love the aspect of recruiting that brings out in me. I love that I'm able to stay in my home of HR and hopefully provide more resources for humans. But I think human resources was solidified for me once I realized it was all encompassing of my core values, that I could do it wherever, and that I would always have really awesome peers in the business with me.
Tashana, do you want to go? Because yours is really aligned to what Brittany's doing in HR.
No, I have to. No, you go ahead, Internet. You go ahead.
Okay. No, it's all good. It's all good. So there were 2 events. So like I was a recruiter. I loved recruiting. I love connecting with families and students to just share like why this was the great university to attend. And I was really good at it, being able to connect with people. There was one of the fun things is I used to travel to high schools all around Kansas City, and like I had to stop rolling up to like Price Chopper looking a hot mess because like students would stop me and be like, Antoinette, like, how are you? And I'm like, I was just trying to come in here. And so that I didn't think I would ever, like I said, I got a master's in higher education. I never thought I was going to leave higher education. However, there were two life events that changed what I'm doing and how I'm doing and how I show up into spaces forever. So the first one was the birth of my son. I had a traumatic birthing experience with Braden. And so that's how I got into what is birth equity, how can I promote birth equity, and how can I work in spaces that can provide more awareness to future healthcare practitioners in order to allow Black and Brown women to stop dying while they're giving birth. And so that's how I ended up at KU Medical Center, is because of that. I also was incredibly inspired by just all of the social justice unrest, the murder of George Floyd. I have a Black husband, and I'm raising Black and Asian children. And so I needed to create spaces and be in spaces where when it is time for them to come through and find jobs, when it is time for people in our community to find jobs, there's space for them, and they feel like they can bring themselves to work, whatever that may be. We are all humans, and so we have different points where we're going to experience different challenges that we need to overcome. And so how can I be, I loved how Brittany said, a light in this space? How can I raise awareness to different things that people may just not have called out because they're not aware of it. And so that's what brought me to be in the space of DEI. And then the last component is, I don't know if I'm going to stay at DFA forever. I don't know if what's going to happen, but I do know I enjoy what I'm doing, and I find joy in what I'm doing. And once that leaves me, regardless of what the circumstances is around, and there's no way that I can personally fix that, then it's time for me to pursue something else. And that something else is, I don't know. My husband and I own a renovations company. Maybe I'll go do that. I love birth equity. Maybe I'll go into something doing that. I have no idea. I'm open to whatever aligned with my purpose at the moment. And for me, God's who gives me that purpose. And so if that purpose needs to change in a moment, in a month or a year or 2 years, whatever that may be, I'm open to what that looks like. And so there's not one specific career for me. I know that there's going to be other things that are going to happen along the way. I'm just open to receiving that pathway and those gifts.
Amazing. Oh, great. And Smith for sharing. Oh, wow. I would just say for me, guys, I don't know what's gonna happen. I always feel as though wherever I'm at, I just want to do and be my very best, no matter what the position is. I want to always feel like I'm adding value, and where I'm at, I'm valued as well. And it's so important that happens. So for me, it's I'm still young. I still got some time out here to do some great things. So I always just say, no matter where I'm at, wherever God places me, I just want to be the very best that I can be and help whomever I'm around, no matter what it is that I'm doing. And so just in your career, again, you're gonna have the good, the bad, and so you have to just determine what's between you and God, where He needs you. That's you there, and you do your work there, and it's gonna be a journey. You're gonna find yourself in different situations, and so just again, no matter where you are, be the best that you can be. And that's just my little take there. And also too, part of the reason why I wanted to, with college and our community and everything, as Antoinette and Brittany has covered too, it's not a lot of us out here doing, we're out here, we're doing some great things, but I just also wanted to make sure I was making a difference in our community as well. And with our company, that is an area with diversity that we are still working on, and we have a lot of room to grow. And as long as we have young ladies like ourselves out here stepping out and being on the forefront of it, you know, we're going to make a difference. And that's going to be opening doors for more minorities as well. So, you know, we still have a lot of work to do. So.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So that hour flew by fast. It's already 5 o'clock. So that ends us perfectly on time with the panel portion of our Zoom event. So thank you so much, Antoinette, Brittany, and then Tashana for coming and talking to us about your roles and about DFA.